When we last conversed, it was at the end of a 2-day intensive workshop, high-flying, amazing energy workshop. And the question that I posed was, how does it get any better than this? And Abraham, of course, had a brilliant answer. But it started an unfolding for me.
So let us add to our brilliant answer.
Of course.
How does it get any better than this? It's your ability to perceive how lovely it is that improves. Your ability to perceive the deliciousness of the moment is what the improving factor is.
What started to unfold for me was a wonderful chain of events. The first one being that, to me, it no longer made sense to make people wrong, no matter what was going on. And then the next part of that, it made no sense to make me be wrong about anything. And so I went forward intending on this path that was unfolding to meet people with unconditional love. That was my intention. Out of this unfolding came a recognition for me that I'm gay. And that was a big change in my perspective from where I was. That knowing, that intention to meet people with unconditional love was huge and certainly helped me to continue to move through that process. And even when the 99.8% of the responses to that were very positive and loving, and the 1 or 2 that weren't, I rocked back on my heels for a minute, but was able to really sort of regain my footing, if you will, pretty easily.
Of those, let's say there were 100 people, and 98 of them were allowing, supportive of you, and 2 weren't. You know that the greatest benefit that you received was from the 2 who weren't.
Right.
Because they gave you an opportunity to find that unconditional place.
Right.
In other words, people
absolutely.
who support you don't help you find unconditional love.
Right.
It's people who don't support you that help you find it. Isn't that interesting?
Right, exactly.
People who agree with you, they're not helping. They're just reflecting your balance, but they're not helping. And so what's coming back to you is a reflection of how you're doing. So 98% coming back to you that way and 2% coming back to you the other way, pretty good indication of what you've got going on vibrationally, isn't it?
Clearly.
And do you think your goal should be 100%? We don't.
Right.
We think you should take it as it comes and enjoy the improvement and feel as good as you can feel.
Right.
So let's say 50% of them allowing, 50% of them freaking out. Would that matter? Do you have to focus at the freaker-outers?
No. I get to choose, but no, of course not.
You get to choose. And so do you want to exercise any control over what anybody thinks about anything? You haven't got any control like that, or you just want to control the direction of your own thought.
Right.
So even if it was 98% the other way, it'd be fine.
Right.
Because what they think of you isn't any of your business.
True.
Unless you make it your business.
But it is nice when it is reversed, when it is that 98% reflecting back to you.
Why?
Confirmation? Isn't it confirmation of how well you're doing, and isn't it nice to know how well you're doing?
Yeah, but there's a little trap in there. There's a little trap. In other words, someone said not too long ago, I love being on the top of the mountain and breathing the fresh air and looking off to the vista and seeing the wildlife, and everyone was really enjoying the conversation, and we like this person to be happy and focusing there. But we said, now that's a condition. The condition seems to be the reason that you feel that way. If you're down in a valley or a hole, then are you in trouble?
But doesn't that go back to when you were explaining to Esther that she was in that place and found the beauty? She didn't see the beauty and then find the place. You can only recognize how well it's going when you're sort of in that well-going place.
You know when you'll really be where you want to be? When you don't need to explain to anybody what's going on.
Right.
In other words, because there's a certain taking everyone's temperature. So I've decided this. Ta-da! Taking a poll. Results of the poll are good. You know you're really there when you say, ta-da! Take me or leave me.
Right.
No poll. I'm not taking any poll. I'm not taking any of your temperatures, only my own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Out of all of this has come, well, several things have come out of this, but one of the things that have come out of it is I feel like I've hit the clarity jackpot or the clarity lottery or tapped the clarity well or whatever, because it's just, and it's not because of that realization, but it came, at least from my perception, it came out of that question, how does it get any better than this? And it's the clarity of everything. Well, maybe not everything, but it's just this clarity that almost feels like it supersedes happiness and joy, because it's just like, oh, I get it.
Awareness. Because what clarity is pure alignment, and therefore looking through the eyes of Source. You got to remember, and we know you do, that you are an extension of Source energy, but you are Source energy. And so you want to ask the question, who's the me that I'm talking about? Who is the me that's having this life experience? Well, Source is right there flowing with you. And in absence of resistance, you've got that full awareness, which is what you are calling clarity. Mm-hmm. So what you're calling clarity is vibrational alignment with the perspective of Source. Yeah.
And it's great.
It's what you all want. But so now let's put this in the whole perspective. So
Sure.
You had that before you were born into this physical body. Oh yeah. So remind me again, why'd I come? Because I already had clarity. And now I've banged around and I've come back to clarity. So it's sort of like, tell me again what that was about.
But isn't there value in gaining clarity? When you talk about the path of going from unclear to clear, how great that experience is?
It's like hitting yourself over the head with a hammer, and when you stop, it feels good.
Kind of, maybe.
Well,
But you're not arguing against clarity, though.
we are certainly not arguing against clarity. And what you're ready to feel and understand is that you were clear before you came into this physical body. And clear meaning non-resistance. Clear meaning, therefore, good feeling. Clarity, therefore, meaning invincible, in love with life. That's who you are. And then wanting to participate in an environment that would produce more desire that you would then become clear with also. Understanding that desire is born out of choices, and that in lots of choices there is less clarity. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Esther sometimes will say to someone, don't you know better than to give a woman that many choices? Because with that many choices, it takes a little longer to make your way through it. And so the more choices that you have, so then you are clear, come into this environment, stand in a place of more choices and a little less clarity, which produces rockets of desire, poignant clarity, because the contrast helped you to choose something that you had not been in a position to choose before. This time-space reality does that to you all day, every day. This conversation has never been before into all of the universe. Clarity will come out of this. But before clarity comes out of it, rocket of desire will be born. Rocket of desire is born. And Source receives it, stands with it, becomes it, knows it, and adds clarity to that knowing. In other words, Source energy, the energy that creates worlds, the consciousness of all that is, now holding that new thought in perfect clarity. Now you're not ready for that yet, because the contrast that produced the clarity that Source now holds isn't yours yet, because it's not practiced. But your emotions will guide you to that clarity. And when you find it, you will feel wonderful. So now, did you follow all of that? Made perfect sense to you, didn't it? So when we say to you that you never get it done, factor that in. And when he says to you, he likes the feeling of moving from non-clarity into clarity, isn't that the journey that we're all talking about? So don't just sort of kind of want to stop beating up on yourself in your place of not clarity, because if you never knew what not clarity is, would you appreciate clarity? It's the process of becoming that is so delicious. It's not getting it done. It's the process of becoming that is so delicious.
Right.
So yes, clarity is the goal, but you're not ever going to know clarity if you don't have a little confusion. Just don't make a lifestyle out of confusion, because you don't go from confusion to clarity. You go from less clarity to more clarity. Right. You see. How is that for you? Did you follow that? We're really out there on the leading edge. And those of you who said you're here for the first time, good for you. That law of attraction brought you here. You had to be in the vicinity or you would not be here. In other words, and you feel more clear now, yes? We want to bring all of this back to the physical world that you live in, because talking about vibration is essential, and knowing about guidance is essential, and knowing who you really are is essential. But after all, you came for the experience of the expansion, for the joy of the expansion. And so all of this that we are speaking to you here, while it is law-based and fact-based, and there is not a shred of evidence anywhere in the universe to the contrary of what we are speaking here, Words don't teach. It's only life experience that teaches. And so you're going to take what pieces of this that you are feeling resonance with, and then life is going to confirm them for you. And that's what's been happening to you. You'd gained all kinds of clarity, and now you just have a really wonderful opportunity to experience up close and personal the details of what that clarity produces for you. Right. And so all of this knowledge that you've been holding for a long time, when it's applied to a different subject, to a subject that you have not been willing to apply it before, you're feeling really a lot of delicious movement, you see. That's what that's all about. There's no right or wrong in anything. There's just you in relationship to what you've become, to what you're allowing yourself to experience. Physicality is so delicious. And translating vibration through your physical senses is so wonderful. To feel the tactile relationship that you have with this physical life experience. You came for the deliciousness of that. But your emotional rendezvous are more delicious than anything that you're translating visually. In other words, you can see something that is beautiful, but when you see it from your vibration of love, self-love, then the beauty is unspeakable, isn't it? You can read books that others have written as they try to explain things, and they can move you, and you can speak your own lovely words as you try to describe things, but the feeling of love is so much more than any description of love that you will ever hear or offer. The feeling of clarity is more delicious than any explanation about clarity that you will ever experience. The feeling of alignment is more delicious than any explanation of how to become aligned that you will ever experience. And so we love knowing that this conversation has stimulated some things within you. But what we are really happy about is knowing that you're all, each one of you, each of you, is going to move forward in your day and have an experience of greater conscious, from your human perspective, participation with the non-physical aspects of your being. And it's going to make that moment, when you allow it, more delicious than that moment usually is. Right. Living in a moment with Source right there with you, and you not blocking it with a belief that is keeping you from it. That's what clarity is. That's what alignment is. That's why we call this the art of allowing. The art of allowing the whole of who you are to be present in this moment. And you know, Esther didn't really get this until Jerry made his transition. She'd been chattering for us for a very long time and listening to the things that we were speaking and doing her best to apply them. But it wasn't until she felt the discomfort of the absence of Jerry and then the comfort of finding the presence of Jerry that she began to realize that she's got to look for him where he is, not where he isn't. That was a really big turning point for her. As long as she was missing something that he used to do or used to say, she was hurting. But when she would allow herself to tune into who he now is and hear him say it now, sack faces, are you kidding? That's the funniest joke that Barbara ever told Esther, ever. It was better than everything that they'd ever laughed over before, ever. Sack faces.
A couple other clarification points that I'd like to discuss. Out of it, I've noticed, although not recently, people kind of talking about the benefit of being vulnerable. There's a couple of books that have been written about it. What has become more clear for me on this...
Well, we would get way general about that, and instead of talking about the benefits of being vulnerable, we would talk about the benefits of contrast, because the word contrast is a whole lot less loaded than the word vulnerable.
Well,
there are no benefits to being vulnerable other than the gentle benefits of contrast.
What came out of that for me, though, was the notion that the only way you can feel vulnerable is if you feel fear. The only
reason that you can feel vulnerable is if you choose a thought that the Source within you never thinks. The only way that you can feel vulnerable is by looking at something in a complete 180 to the way Source knows about it.
But the way that the people that speak well of vulnerability is that the good part of it is the being open part of it. You're open to, I don't want to say open to being hurt, but you're kind of open to everything. I was wondering if you could expand a little bit on that.
We would be open to good feeling things and not open to bad feeling things. And those who are excited about vulnerable open themselves to things that we would never open ourselves to, and that's why they feel vulnerable, is because they focus on things that we would not focus upon.